Brett teaches Raspberry Pi.
Brett teaches Raspberry Pi.
Brett.
Tech is cool. T-minus 5 seconds.
Brett teaches Raspberry Pi.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and take a look at some of the other cool things that we can do with the Sense Hat. Some of the cool things built into the Sense Hat are like the thermometer, the air pressure sensor, etc. We're going to go ahead and read some of these sensors and spit them out to the display themselves. So the first thing we're going to need to do is create a new file. So click the new up there with the green plus. Okay, in here we need to borrow from that same library again. We're going to continuously do this. So from sense, import, and the collection of code we're looking at is the Sense Hat. Okay, and then we need to assign that to a variable so that we can use it in our code later on. So remember, make sure you do the sense equals Sense Hat with the two parentheses. That kind of checks out that code and assigns it to that variable so we can use that variable to represent that book and to access the collection of code in it. So we're going to make some new variables here. The first one is we're going to make one for the temperature. We're going to set that equal to the sense.get_temperature with the two parentheses. This will get the temperature from the Sense Hat itself and assign it to this temp variable. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is humidity. So type humidity equals, this makes a variable called humidity, and we're going to do sense.get_humidity, excuse me, with the two parentheses. Spell that right. There we go. Okay, and then next we're going to get pressure here. So the air pressure. Say pressure equals sense.get_pressure with the two parentheses. Okay, this will get the air pressure around the Sense Hat. Okay, now we want to print them out. So just like we did in the last example, we can print them straight to the console here, the little white arrow down at the bottom, just to make sure they work. So we're going to do a print, and inside quotations we're going to say temperature, colon, we're going to close quote, and if we put a comma here, it'll take whatever variable we pass it to it and spit that value out alongside it. So in this case we're just going to put temp with a closed parentheses, and it'll assign it right next to the end of that last string. We're going to do the same thing for humidity and air pressure. So print humidity quote with closing quote, comma, put the humidity variable there. It'll find the value of it. It'll append it to the end of that text string. We're going to do the same thing here with air pressure. So air pressure, colon, close quote, comma. Make sure you put that comma in there with pressure, close parenthesis. That should find the value, assign it to the end of air pressure. And then if we go ahead and save this, we need to save it first before we can run it. We're going to save it as sensors.py since that's what we're accessing. Okay, and if you hit run, you'll notice it didn't do anything. And the reason is potentially you might already have the previous program running. We need to make sure to go over here and click stop to make sure that the last program is no longer running. So if we hit stop, it'll stop execution of the previous program, and then we should be able to run it again and actually see the values come out of there. So there we go. We printed out temperature, humidity, air pressure. Notice they're kind of weird values though. I mean, 34 isn't really what the temperature is. It's because they're printed out by default in Celsius. In order to change us from Celsius to Fahrenheit, we're going to have to do a little bit of math here. So we're going to take this value that comes back from get temperature, and we're going to do some calculations to it. The first thing we're going to do is divide it by 5, and then multiply it by 9. Multiply is done with a little asterisk symbol. Okay, and then we're going to add 32 to it. So it's going to do all of that math to it before it assigns it to that temp variable. So if we save it and then rerun it again, notice that our temperature now is a lot better. It makes some more sense. It's now in Fahrenheit. Okay, so we're all set up for the next video. We're going to do a little bit more with our Raspberry Pi and Sense Hat, and we're going to do some colors, add some colors to it. So stick around for some pretty colors to be shown right on that Sense Hat using these 3 variables that we just created.